Alright, what's going on? Mekkah here, welcome back to another guide review. Today we are looking at the Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon Recruitment and Character Guide, published by the renowned website KW, also known as KidzWorld, with a Z to make it sound extra cool. This guide is absolutely horrendous. This is a horrible one. This might just be the worst one I've seen so far, which is why I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. So first thing you might notice on this guide, there's a lot of like random blue words that are being highlighted, and I don't think you can see it on the recording, but they link to different articles, and you would think they link to like, I don't know, maybe the characters one links to a different character guide, and then this one links to like a guide that talks about time management and Shadow Dragon or Fire Emblem in general. This one links to like what things to use. They actually just link to completely different unrelated articles, so they're basically clickbait. They're basically just completely unrelated dumb articles. Like this one is top 5 green cartoon characters, this one is the Book of Time book review, and this one is overuse injuries. So that's one sign of a great website right there. I think this is pretty much not peer reviewed at all. I think they just have some kids write this and they just publish it, and they're like, yay, we have a guide on our site, guys, it's great. I mean, you can't expect much from a site called KidzWorld. Anyway, let's read through it. Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon has a huge cast of playable characters, over 50 in fact. The large cast really helps to make you feel like you are running an army. You're nitpicking and biased, bye bye. However, while it is fun to look for characters and recruit them into your army, the game itself only lasts 25 chapters. There is not enough time to properly level up every character without the use of arenas, so you will need to pick and choose who you'll use very carefully. This walkthrough will show you how to recruit all the characters, point out the best ones, and give you tips on how to level up quickly. Alright, so far so good. Fairly reasonable premise for a character guide. You can't just use everyone, you kind of have to choose. Shadow Dragon, you can use everyone if you want to, because the game is sort of built around it, but it's better to like stick with the core team most of the time. So let's see how to go about it. And now, don't worry, it's going to get bad right now. Before you start, it might be tempting to recruit everyone that you see. However, if you're following this walkthrough, you should know which characters are worth your time. Instead of making things complicated, these wasteful characters can give your favorite characters more experience. Like, in case you're not sure, yes, they're actually saying you should kill some recruitable characters just to get a little bit of XP on your main squad, instead of recruiting them for their items and just having them in your team. Like, they're actually advocating killing recruitable characters. If you're not sure about this, they're gonna mention it again later on too. It's a very stupid idea. It's a very, very stupid premise, because the benefit is very, very small. Like, even if you were to get a full level from a recruitable character kill, it would still not be worth it. But most of them will give you maybe 30 XP or something. It's stupid. And most people want to recruit everyone anyway. It's like one of the few things that almost everyone agrees on, is you kind of want to play Fire Emblem recruiting everyone. You don't always manage, but you want to. For characters that automatically join your team, focus only on the recommended ones. When selecting your team prior to a battle, don't bother bringing anyone that is not recommended, even if this means that you'll be going into a fight with a smaller army. This way, all your good characters will get more experience, which will make them even better. Yes, because when you bring someone but you don't have them fight ever, they get experience somehow, right? No, they don't. They don't. You're the player. You get to pick which character faces which enemy. You can keep them out of enemy range. The game even has a button that shows where all the enemies can reach. So characters will never run and steal your experience from... The game doesn't even have a system where it like divides experience over your party members, like, I don't know, some common RPGs. So this logic just blows my mind right here. It's so dumb. So dumb. Yeah. Always max out your deployment, guys. Unless a character literally is just like dragging you down somehow, like space is very tight. Always bring a full cast if you can. Prologue. Note that if you are playing hard mode, you won't get Frey or Norn. All the characters below, with the exception of Gordon, will join your army automatically. Okay, it's an entire sentence. It's 2 sentences that are actually entirely correct. So good job, guide. Marth. As the main character, you are forced to use him. Again, he's on the map, so you have to use him. No, you don't, but, you know, to be fair, most people use their lords, so we'll give him a pass for Marth at least. Luckily, Marth is a great character and is capable of leveling up to level 30. Wow, that must mean he's good. It doesn't matter that he cannot reclass or promote or use anything but swords or anything at all. He's a great character. They don't even mention that he has good growth rates or anything. They don't even say anything. It's just, they just say he's a great character, that's it. This guide does never backs up their opinion on anything like this. They're good, they're bad, that's it. They don't say anything else, which is, it's like the main purpose of a guide, you know, is explaining things a little bit instead of just an opinion piece. And again, opinions are supposed to be back up too. This is, you can hardly even call it a guide. It's just like, this guy's bad, this guy's good. It's fucking bad. But when they do back up their opinions, it's still hilariously bad. So keep an eye open for that. Frey. Frey is probably the best Cavalier Paladin in the game. You should definitely use him all the time. Another link to another stupid article. Women and Sports Timeline this time. Very relevant guide. Okay, sure. Frey has slightly better stats than the other two, I think, so whatever. Abel is also a very decent Cavalier that should be on your team if you have room for him. If you're playing hard mode, then replace the missing Frey with Abel. I love that they're recommending that you should use him if you have room, because I can tell that means that Abel has reached a very high bar, because this guy absolutely hates the idea of even fielding 2 units of the same class. It's very conservative in that regard. So the fact that they recommend Abel along with Frey is actually really good for them. It's I'm glad. This is the first step towards acceptance of pitfalls. I'm very happy for them. Kain. Well, Kain is bad. He's not as good as Frey and Abel. I agree, but you know, source, source requested. What's that called when people put it on Wikipedia? It's like back up your claims or something. I forgot what it is right now, but that's the feeling I get. As long as you have either Frey or Abel in your group, you do not need to spend any time with Kain. Yeah, no need for tea parties with Kain if you have the other two. Jagen, and you can judge a guide based on their Jagen opinion usually. If a guide says, use Jagen but not too much, I gave him a pass usually. If a guide says, what's it called? If they say kill him off as soon as possible, that's when I know the guide just goes in the trash. Just get off here. Let's see what this one does. Jagen starts off really good because you get him pre-promoted, meaning he's essentially at the level of a general. Well, I'd hope Jagen is a little bit better than a general, but you know. While this is good to start, pre-promoted units do not gain experience very quickly and suffer from poor stat growths. This means that after a few chapters, Jagen won't be so good to use anymore. Instead of keeping him, let the other characters gain experience and select Jagen to be sacrificed at the end of Prologue. Alright, this guide is done. This guy is just out there. Like, fuck this whole guide. Fuck this. This is so stupid. Like, even if you don't want to use Jagen all... Like, I get not wanting to use him all game long. He's not that great, okay? But at least just tell people to, like, use him to, you know, chip and then use others to kill or something. That's common sense. It's so fucking dumb. And, like, these guys are always so about, like, resource conservation, too. They're always like, yeah, you gotta preserve your good weapons and stuff, and, like... don't run out of stuff. Jagen saves you like vulnerary and heal uses because he takes less damage than everyone. So they should be in favor of that kind of thing, but no. And because I forgot to mention this at the start, I might as well mention it now. This guy was not written that long ago. It's 5 years ago, November 14th. I think Shadow Dragon had been out for a little while at that point. I mean, as far as I know, like Fates and Awakening are pretty much that old, I think, off the top of my head. So this guide is not as old as the guides I usually do, or like the debates I usually review. This is... for my standards, pretty recent. Like, millennials have been able to see this guide, you know what I mean? Fuck, this is bad. This is horrible. Even when taking into account when it was written. Alright, Gordon. You can recruit Gordon in the very last prologue level, just before you sacrifice one unit, by moving Marth next to him and selecting Talk instead of killing him. Gordon is an incredibly good archer, so it is definitely recommended you recruit him instead of killing him. This is proof to me that they are advocating killing units because they stated like that. I love Gordon for the memes, but I think even the biggest Gordon fan would agree that he is not an incredibly good archer. Literally, I think his bases are basically class bases. The only thing he has over like a complete generic is like his slightly higher bow rank at D instead of E. That's it. That's all Gordon has. But apparently he's incredibly good. So checkmate atheists. I just want to say this was the prologue. This is the first 5 characters, 6 characters, whatever. Fuck. Chapter 1. The final boss of this level can only hit people standing next to him, which makes it safe and easy to hit him with bows and javelins. Anytime you come across such a boss, it is recommended you take advantage of the situation to level up. Simply attack the boss with your ranged units and end your turn. On the opponent's turn, the boss will heal and you'll be able to attack again on your following turn. You can easily get Gordon to level 10 this way on the first chapter, you're giving him a nice head start. Just buy him an extra iron bow or two from the armory at the start of the level, and you're good to go. Wow, you just need this. This is such a fun game, guys. You just need to boss abuse. You just need to exploit the game mechanics in the first chapter, the first real chapter, and you get a really good archer. I wonder how he got this really good opinion of Gordon. I wonder if he's speaking from personal experience here. I don't know. I haven't seen him play. Maybe he just got really lucky with Gordon. Just kidding. Of course he did that. What the? This is so dumb. Like, this is a good niche tip to give to people if they want to catch up on an unleveled unit. But why recommend? Like, this guide is obviously written for new players, so why recommend they cheese through the game like this already at this chapter 1? Like, give him a chance to experience the game as it was probably intended for play. Like, as the developers to balance the game not around boss abuse in chapter 1, of course. Like, that's common sense. Alright, Norn. If you finish the prologue with 4 units or less, you will start chapter 1 with Norn in your group. Norn isn't as good as Gordon, and to be honest, you should not be sacrificing Freya or Abel just to get Norn, because she isn't worth it. You also shouldn't be sacrificing frickin' Jagen for Norn, in my opinion, but hey, you know, I don't know what makes Norn so much worse than Gordon. She probably has E-bows, that's like the only way she could be worse than Gordon. I mean, to be fair, Norn is pretty terrible, but not that much worse than Gordon. Draug. You start with Draug on your team, and he will be the only armored knight on your team for a long time. In general, armored knights are not as useful, since you will be required to travel across the map quite a bit on most chapters. The best armored knight character comes much later in the game, so if you do not want to have one on your team, you may want to level up Draug. Excuse me, it says A. I need to adhere to the original canon. Otherwise, ignore him until the chance to recruit Horace, required Horace comes up. This is proof no one proofread this shit. Okay, so this is probably a good time. And I think a lot of Shadow Dragon guides, a lot of early ones especially, have this problem. They either ignore or don't know about the reclass option. So in most games, the character's class is a big deal, and they characterize a character. But Shadow Dragon was, I think, the first game in the series where you could freely reclass your characters. I mean, you have Gaiden promotions from villagers, but this is something else entirely. Like, basically unlimited reclassing. And one problem with reclassing is that it basically eliminates limitations of what a unit can do a lot. It limits their characterization, and in this case it confuses poor guide riders into thinking that Draug is an armor knight, when really the way you look at Shadow Dragon units and every 12 units, it's more like they start as this, so they have higher weapon ranks in like 1 or 2 weapons usually. But other than that, you have to look at their absolute basis. But most people probably won't bother with reclassing because they feel like they don't want to make changes to something like that. And then the unit's initial class is usually like a pretty good recommendation. But this guide just straight up doesn't mention reclassing at all, so it has no excuse. They should know better than this. Draug is not a particularly good armor knight because his defense base is low, his personal defense base is low, and his speed base is high, so it actually works better as other classes. But this guy doesn't know that, so they just pretend that Draug is the armor knight. And that alone is stupid. I'm not going to harp on this forever in other entries, but just know that this guide just basically assumes reclassing doesn't exist, and I think that's very, very stupid, because it's a pretty big part of Shadow Dragon and the experience in it. But yeah, he's apparently he's not the best armor knight. Apparently you get another one later on, and that means you cannot use Draug, or you can, but then you ignore him until you recruit Horace or something. I don't know. Like, even if you think having an armor knight is important, then at the very least you should like have one around for all game, right? I mean, why would you wait for Horace in particular? I just can't wrap my head around this stupid shit. Alright, let's continue with Sita. You also start with Sita, who is probably the only Pegasus Draco Knight that you will ever need in this game. Keep her away from arrows and she will help you a lot on the battlefield. You know, at least it's a positive endorsement of a good character. I would have liked to see a mention, like at least a mention of the Wing Spear, the best weapon in the game. But, you know, can't ask too much of KidzWorld, I guess. I hope a kid didn't write this. I actually feel bad now. Kid, if you're reading this, it's nothing personal. I just hate this website. If you're a second grader, though, I might have an appointment for you. But, yeah. Only Pegasus Draco Knight you ever need. Like, I don't know, go pick your pitfalls. There's like 2 every sentences. Like, you don't need me to point out this shit. Reese. If you visit the village with Marth, Reese will join your team. You will get Lena in your group in chapter 3, so don't bother using him at all. Like, just let your characters die and use vulneraries. Like, though you don't actually get any vulneraries throughout the game in Shadow Dragon, unless you play the prologue, actually. So maybe this guy played normal mode and had vulneraries. But if you don't use Reese, at all, your characters are gonna die. I guarantee it. People can die in this game. You got the stat HP, and if enemies are reducing it, then yeah. But yeah, you should just have him join so you can steal his heal staff to give the Lena early on. So it is apparently possible to recruit characters but not give them experience. This is apparently possible. This is new. This is news to me. This is news to me. All right, chapter 2. Ogma. You start with Ogma automatically joining your team. He is a pretty good character. You will do well to use him, but don't bother restarting the game if you lose him, since he's not that important. So he's good, but apparently there's a distinction between like good characters and good characters you should reset for. Like, and apparently Ogma is one of those characters that, you know, he's good, but you shouldn't reset if you lose him. I'm puzzled. This is, as far as I remember, this is the only endorsement like this in the guide. This is the only character where they're like, yeah, he's good, but don't reset if he dies. At the very least, it sounds like a double standard, but I think it's much worse than that. Oh my god, this is terrible. Barst, Board, and Court. All three of these are the same, obviously. Of the 3 axe users that join your army at the start of chapter 2, Barst is the best. Finally! Finally, this one is this is a true sentence. This is actually correct. I'm quite amazed. However, you will quickly get Daros in this chapter, and it is recommended that you use him instead of Barst. Skeptical Mekkah noises. Why is Daros better than Barst? Maybe they'll talk about it in Daros' entry. I don't know. Let's read Castor first. Castor. You can recruit Castor by having Sita talk to him. However, if Gordon is already on your team and you spent the last chapter leveling him up against the boss, then don't bother recruiting Castor. Instead, just take him down and get some experience points. This is definite proof, if you were still in doubt, that they advocate just killing a character instead of recruiting him. Like, it even makes the chapter easier to recruit him, because it's one less enemy you have to kill. So Sita can like talk to him and then attack another enemy or something. Like, fuck. Oh my, why? Like, just at the very least, wouldn't you want like the bow he comes with? Like, I know it's just an arrow bow or like a steel bow, but hey, it's still free. Like, why are you so desperate for experience? Oh my, that's dumb. That's so fucking dumb. I mean, if you already have the amazing archer Gordon, who by the way has 1 less movement than Castor because archers versus hunters, then yeah, I guess don't bother recruiting him. But apparently if you don't use Gordon, then Castor's totally worth it. So, I don't know, man. That's what they're implying anyway. Daros. Talk to Daros using Marth and he will join you. As mentioned before, you should be using either Barst or Daros for the rest of the game, but not both. That's a sin. You can't just use 2 people, not even of the same class, because one is a pirate, the other is a fighter. So apparently this is not allowed. This is like, apparently Barst is the best of the 3. I don't know if he's supposed to be good in general or not, because the guy didn't tell me. But apparently like Daros is even better than that. I don't know why. Like, all I know about Daros is he has like a negative speed base or something, and he's pretty fucking terrible. I'm surprised they didn't even mention the fact that he joins with the steel axe, and like, but that's probably already asking too much. Personally, I personally never mentioned charting equipment because I think it's pretty much irrelevant. But you'd expect this guy to like mention it at least. What did Daros do to make such a good first impression on them? Because most people will be like, yeah, Daros sucks when they first get him. But just, yeah, support this claim, please, KidzWorld, please. Check your sources. Chapter 3. Julian. Julian is playable right away from the start of the chapter. The only time you need a thief in this game is when you want to pick locks. So keep him around for that, but don't let him get any experience points, because every single point of EXP is super precious in this game. So don't ever let him get any, guys. Even if there's like an enemy that's about to kill Marth, fuck it. Don't kill him. Don't kill that enemy, because you never let Julian have XP points. And if you're at a point in a chapter where you have to choose between Julian, killing an enemy that's about to kill Marth, just reset the chapter, because your life is over. Don't let him get any experience points. I actually agree with the main sentiment here, but oh my god, like, why make people feel so bad about just spreading your XP around a bit suboptimally? Like, fuck it, it's just a game, and like, you can still beat it when Julian has 30 extra XP. Like, fuck. 20 minutes and we're in chapter 3, because it's, I mean, fuck. Lena. Lena is also playable right from the start, but unlike Julian, she's definitely worth using. Lena is without a doubt the best healer in the game. Give her a resist heal staff and make sure that she heals at every turn so that she can gain experience quickly. Don't worry about the heal staff breaking, you will be able to buy more later. Yeah, don't worry guys, don't worry, it'll be fine. You can use her healer. Like, first of all, the healing formula in this game is so crap that I don't think it really matters who you heal with very much. Lena does have like some of the highest magic in the game, but it's really quite irrelevant. You know what makes her a good healer? The fact that she has the highest staff rank, which is not mentioned, or the fact that she can use the hammer and staff, which guess what? It's not mentioned. None of that stuff matters. Just Lena is the best. Period. Navarre. If you talk to Navarre using Sida, he will join your team. Navarre is even better than Ogma and Daros. Wow. The accomplishments. And his sword gives him a great crit rate. There will be more killing edge swords later on in the game, so don't worry about using it a lot. Yeah, just spam it, guys. It'll be fine. Yeah, reclassing doesn't exist, apparently. So making Navarre a Cavalier or something, not an option, apparently. I don't know, it takes a while before you get more killing edges, so I don't know if I like the advice of just spamming it a lot. That seems silly to me, but then again, you know, warding is a pitfall, so maybe they're right. Maybe they're like far ahead of their time. I don't know. Either way, Navarre is most definitely not better than Ogma, but probably better than Daros. So I give him a half point for that one, and then -5 for everything else in this whole thing. Chapter 4. There is another boss with a short attack range on this level. You can use this opportunity to level up Sida or someone else. There is also an arena to the right of the siege point. However, it is difficult to use as a leveling tool at this point, since none of your characters can reliably survive more than 2 fights. Damn! If only we had the option to heal characters after they fight, but we couldn't use Riz, so I guess that's not an option. We can use Lena though, she's the best healer in the game. Like, I get that it takes longer, but does that make it more difficult to use as a leveling tool? Like, just spam end turn, it's not that I care about turn count. Like, why does this... I can't even word right now because of how nonsensical the advice is. And we're only in chapter 4. Merrick. If you visit the village on the bottom left with Marth, Merrick will join your team. He's the best mage you can find in this game, which means you should definitely use him. In fact, if he dies, it is recommended you restart the chapter so you can keep using him. So, Merrick is better than Ogma confirmed, because Ogma was good, but he's not worth resetting over. But Merrick, yeah, you gotta reset that. I don't know why though, he's just the best mage. I mean, it might have to do with like the Excalibur tome that he joins with. I don't think I've actually... They mention the killing edge on Navarre, but they don't mention any personal weapons or weapons like Excalibur and Aura. Ah, okay, fine. Have it your way, guide. Mathis. Seeing how Mathis is Lena's brother, you will need to use Lena to talk to him in order to have him join your army. However, you already have Frey and Abel, so you do not really need Mathis on your team. You can recruit him if you need to replace a fallen Cavalier, or take him down and gain some experience points. You know, Mathis is actually bad enough that I would advocate killing him. Probably, maybe, but, you know, I still rarely want to kill recruitable units, so fuck. Bad advice still, but Mathis is really bad. Chapter 5. Harden, Wolf, Setgar, Roshi, and Phyland. These horse riders will be playable at the start of the chapter. Do not bother giving experience points to Roshi or Violent. If Frey or Abel die along the way, you can use Harden to replace them. Both Setgar and Wolf are great characters, but you only need one of them, so pick your favorite and ignore the other. This part doesn't really have anything new for me to pick on that I haven't already made fun of them before. I do agree you should probably focus on one of Setgar and Wolf, so this quintuple entry might actually be one of the best ones so far. I would actually agree with pretty much all the advice given. I think Harden is great regardless of like Abel and Cain, but whatever. Or Abel and Frey. Wendell. Talk to Wendell using either Marth or Merrick and he will join you. However, Merrick is so much better, or he's much better, so you're better off just taking him down and getting some experience points for it. What the actual fuck? I missed this on my first playthrough, my first read-through of this guide. It feels like a playthrough because it's really hard to get through. What the actual fuck? You're killing Wendell for XP? Do you know how good that guy is? He is so fast, he is so good. He can heal your character. You can recruit Wendell, take away his tomes, just give him healing staves, and just heal everyone. And he won't take a single drop of XP from anyone else, except maybe Lena, but, you know, fuck it. Fuck that logic. Like, see, the funny thing about XP stealing is that a unit like Wendell and Jagen, they actually need less XP to function than your other characters. So if you replace Merrick with Wendell, you can give your other characters more experience. So I think it's really ironic that people always accuse pre-promotes of XP stealing, when in fact, they need less XP to function. It's so fucking funny to me. Fuck, this... I think every line I read in this guide is the worst line I've read so far. Probably. Like, this line is definitely the worst line I've read so far, and I'm sure the next line will be even worse. Like, chapter 6, that is terrible. Okay, let's go. Rickard. Talk to Rickard using Marth or Julian and he will join your team. However, Julian is a better thief and it isn't recommended you use him. It may seem like you will need some thieves for this level, but in reality the enemy thieves will open the chests for you. You can just take them down in order to get the goodies. Remember that thieves give a lot of experience points, so it's definitely better to just take Rickard down and get experience points instead of recruiting him into your army. Yeah, fuck that shit. We want those XP points, so sorry Rickard, you're fucking dead. It's actually true, you don't need thieves that much for chapter 6, but that's about the only true thing in this whole entry. Just recruit the guy, it's just 40 XP or something, it's not that big a deal. Like, stop killing my playable characters, it's a dumb advice. The only reason it's good is to visit Gaiden chapters sometimes. Now, this guide doesn't mention them. Instead, what it just says is, okay, chapter 6, you can recruit Athena in chapter 6. You can't. It's a separate chapter. And you would think the writer would notice, because you actually go to a different map. Like, the chapter ends. The game pretty much tells you, like, new chapter or whatever. You have to save your game and everything. It's a new chapter, but this game somehow doesn't notice Gaiden chapters. Instead, it just assumes you get Athena, which makes me think sometimes that the writer didn't play the game, or at least didn't play the Gaiden chapters. It doesn't know how they work. But it's very weird because, like, they say visit the village with Marth to get Athena, but there is no village in chapter 6. So I'm very confused as to how they came to this conclusion. Like, I'm pretty sure they played the game, sometimes, a little bit, but I'm really not sure. But apparently Navarre is much better than Athena, so it isn't really worth the trip. So apparently that just negates all the usefulness Athena could possibly have. This fucking guide, man. Chapter 7. Bantu. Visit the village in this chapter with Marth to get Bantu. If you beat every enemy in the previous chapters, you should have picked up a firestone that you can give to Bantu to use. Because, you know, you get it by visiting a village with Marth, but apparently you have to kill every enemy. However, Bantu isn't really recommended. Instead, you should get him so you can get Tiki later on in the game. That's actually true. Bantu is not very good. Chapter 8. Caesar and Rad. These two will join you at the start of the chapter. Ogma and Navarre are much better, so don't bother leveling them up. You know, everyone else is much better, but other than that, fine. This is fine. Caesar and Rad are pretty bad, although if you missed the Legends of Rad quests, I recommend you go check them out. Roger. Talk to Roger using Sida in order to recruit him. If you wanted an armored knight, you should be using Draug. Otherwise, ignore Roger and keep waiting for Horace. Like, yeah, sure. Like, I have said everything I needed to say about all the things they do wrong here, but it still pisses me off every time I read something stupid like that. Chapter 9. George. This sniper is in the village that Marth can visit. Gordon is much better, so you can ignore him. Yeah, I mean, let's ignore the fact that George has amazing bases and like a B rank plus in bows. He's almost at A, I think. He's the Parthia very soon. It's very hard. Gordon is the best archer ever because we grinded him like 10 levels in chapter 1. Sure. Sure, guide, sure. Chapter 10. Maria. Talk to Maria using Marth and she will join your team. Lena is much better than Maria, but you do need her to get Minerva, so recruit her for that and don't bother giving her experience points. Well, shit. Guess I can't heal with Maria. Fuck. Minerva. After rescuing Maria, use Marth to talk to Minerva and she will join your team. Minerva is strong to start, however, she's pre-promoted like Jagen was and will quickly become a terrible unit to use. Like, you have no idea of how much wrath Minerva is about to inflict on your team when you recruit her. Like, she will drain your experience like no tomorrow, man. Like, come on. Like, the weapon, she even joins with a weapon that shows how good she is. The Hot Claire. It's so freaking strong. Hot Claire? Hot Claire. Whatever. The strong axe that kills people. It's super fucking good. And so is Minerva, honestly. She's pretty damn good. Chapter 11. Linde. In order to get Linde, just visit the village with Marth. If you lost Merrick and accidentally saved over your game, then Linde is a good replacement, but otherwise she isn't as useful. So, not only do you need to lose Merrick, but you also need to accidentally save over your game, like, because you have to reset if you lose Merrick, right? That's the way it works. And the only way that's like possible is if you lost Merrick and then you keep playing the chapter and then save over your file, like instead of just outright restarting like the guide recommends. So, but you have to be a very big fool to fall for that one. Good God, this is, oh my fucking God. And they don't mention Aura either, which is the main selling point of Linde. Okay, Jake. Talk to Jake using Sida in order to recruit him. However, you will be getting Beck in chapter 13 and he's much better, so you might as well ignore him. Yeah, it's not like Ballistician is the most broken class in the game probably, because shooting enemies at 10 range is massively broken. you can circumvent so much of the difficulty of the game with them. Like, they don't even mention what he is. They just say, okay, just talk to him, but you're getting another character later and he's much better, so just ignore him. Like, he's so unique. It's so much fun to talk about how strong Jake is and how strong the aerospace is and how strong, like, I get that they don't talk about force ballistas because that's like some pretty advanced plays that people didn't figure out for some time, but like, Jake is so good. He is so good for shooting stuff. Ballisticians are so much fun to use. Like, why not tell people to do that? Like, fuck. And then using 2 ballisticians is actually even better than like 2 of any of the other classes. Because first of all, they don't promote, so they don't compete for like, well, the promotion items are not an issue in this game, but like, they don't really compete for weapons because they can trade them around between them all the time. And they're just, like, killing an enemy before they can even reach you is just so strong. Like, fuck, man. Chapter 12. Before I lose my sanity. Chapter 12. Medea, Dolph, McCallum, Thomas, and Boa. You start the chapter with a lot of new people, but none of them are good. Medea or Boa are pre-promoted, and you should already have better units in your army than these new characters, so ignore them. Yeah. Man, if only these people were just enemies, so you can kill them and get XP, right? I bet they would love that. But no, fuck that shit. And again, Boas is one of those units that, like, just went Wendell. You can just heal your units, and there's no opportunity cost to that. So that is extra stupid. Also, you need Medea to recruit another unit later. So that's extra stupid that they don't recommend to keep her alive. Because they've given advice like that for other characters at least. Horace. If you finish the chapter and Horace lives, he will automatically join your team. Horace is the best armored knight in the whole game. Even if you have been using Drog up until this point, you should replace him with Horace. If you don't like using any armored knights, then don't worry too much about protecting Horace in this chapter. Bro, he is a pre-promote. He will fuck your experience up like no tomorrow. He is a pre-promoted general, but they're somehow, between chapter 10 and chapter 12, it suddenly became acceptable to be pre-promoted. I guess if they're an armored knight, or actually in general, then it's okay. But if you dare to be a Draco Knight, you know, the best combat class in the game, then I guess things are a little bit different. Chapter 13, Beck. Visit the village with Marth to get Beck. He is definitely recommended. Again, just Beck is good. They don't tell him to give him like specific ballistas or, you know, ways he can be useful to forge ballistas, or they don't talk about any of his strengths or weaknesses. They just say he's good, and that's it. That's all they say. And like, I know Beck is better than Jake, but again, they work best in tandem, and it's not like you can replace their utility with anyone else either. Astram. Talk to Astram with Medea if you want another pre-promoted unit. Not recommended. Yeah, fuck that. Just kill off Medea, man. Just kill her off. Oh yeah, did I mention that Horace Gaiden also wasn't mentioned? Like, it's just a new chapter, but they still didn't notice that shit. Yeah, that happened. Chapter 14, Palla and Katria. The sisters will join you at the start of the chapter. Katria is better than Palla, and if Sita has died, you can use Katria to replace Sita. Otherwise, just use Sita and ignore the sisters. Yeah, so if your Sita dies and you saved over your save file, then I guess you're allowed to use a different pack this night. But Sita is apparently all you ever need. No one needs good units, guys. No one needs better classes. Just keep rolling with them armor knights and one ballistician and Daros, I guess. He's also pretty good. Chapter 15, Aaron and Samsung. I have a Samsung phone myself. It's pretty useful. Visit the village on the left with Marth in order to get Aaron, or visit the village on the right to get Samsung. However, you can only have one of them on your team. In either case, don't worry about it too much, as both Aaron and Samsung are a waste of time. Well, fine. I actually sort of agree with that. Actually, Samsung is not that bad, but this game is like, oh, pre-promote you, get that out of my face. So I get why this is at least consistent with their ratings, okay? At least it's consistent. It's consistently bad, but at least it's consistent. Like, to the point where you can sometimes go, alright, they give this advice, so I should do the opposite. That helps a little bit. It's like the Arma and White kind of way, if you know what I mean. Chapter 16, Zane. Talk to Zane with Marth and you will get a character that can become an exact copy of your best unit. Definitely recommended. Okay, so far we have seen that when you have two units, you only use the better one. Like, you're only allowed to use Daros or Barst, but never both, because even though Barst is better than the other two fighters, Daros is better than both. So you only use Daros, not Dart. They're both bad parrots, but Daros. Zane gives you another one of those units, but now it's okay. Like, this unit can become a copy, like an exact copy of the exact same thing, but that's a good thing. Right. Never mind the whole consistency thing. This is pretty bad. The only, like, there's one little way I can explain out of this one, and that is that they're okay with Zane because he doesn't require experience. But if Zane kills anyone, if Zane even attacks anyone, the XP is useless because the only stat he can gain that's like any useful is HP. So any experience that Zane gets is totally wasted. So you should never use Zane if this guy was consistent. They should recommend you never use Zane. So, fuck. Chapter 17. Edsel would join your team automatically at the end of the chapter if Edsel survives, the Gaiden chapter. However, don't worry about it too much since Edsel isn't that good anyways. I would also like to note that this is not chapter 17. This happens in 17X, but I think there's no new characters in chapter 17. That's why the numbering doesn't fuck up all of a sudden. I think that's the way it goes, yeah. Edsel, just another character you can use completely free of cost to heal your units, but fuck that shit. Chapter 18. Est. Talk to Est with Marth to get a new recruit. Est has good stat growth and would be a good replacement for any fallen units, but she does require a bit of work. You know what steals XP a lot? A unit that joins at like level 3 in chapter 18. That requires a lot of XP from your other units. So this is a character that I recommend you just attack with your units to get some XP. I think this is the only unit in the game where I would actually recommend that, if I was going to recommend it for any of them. But yeah, good stat growth, right? That's good. 19 gives us Tiki. Bring Bantu with you in this chapter because you will need him to talk to Tiki in order to get her into your group. Tiki is pretty good, but Nagi, who comes in chapter 24, is better. Well, I'm not in chapter 24 though. I'm in chapter 19, and I want to know, is Tiki worth using until I get Nagi? Or is she worth using at all? I don't give a fuck about this other character I get later. I want to know if Tiki is good now. But, you know, the fact that Nagi joins later is apparently important. However, if you get Nagi, you won't be able to get Goto, who is a powerful mage. Powerful. It is a difficult choice to make, so you might want to keep a save file for a game that is just before the start of this chapter. Right, so what they recommend you do is you play up to chapter 19, you make a separate save. Be careful, don't accidentally save over your Merrick save, or you will have to use Linde. And then you play until like chapter 24, where you get like Goto or Nagi, and then if you decide you don't like the choice you made, you go back and play 5 chapters over again just to redo your choices. That sounds like a lot of fun to play this game for the first time. It's like, you know, I got to chapter 24, I actually like this other unit better without even trying it out, so I'm gonna reset all the way and play 5 chapters again, just to make sure I made the right choice for this one. That seems like, yeah, your choices really matter, man. God damn it. Chapter 20, yeah, just 20. Lawrence. Talk to Lawrence with Marth or Sita to get this useless character. Not recommended, like, fuck that shit. This is a pre-promoted Armor Knight though. Shouldn't he be like, at least like this character a little bit? Like, hello, he has like B-bows or something? I don't know. Useless character, okay. I'll admit he's not that good, but like, fuck, why not even like, if you don't think he's that good, then just say kill him. Because this is one character that actually is going to give you some significant amount of XP. He is like a promoted boss that might be worth killing. No? Okay. Ymir, talk to Ymir with Marth, and Ymir will join you at the end of the chapter. However, Ymir isn't very good, so don't bother. Yeah, you can also kill this one if you want. That will get some XP. In this case, it actually sort of makes sense, because it's like the end of the game, right? So you probably already have your squad all set up. You probably don't need these characters, so I'm surprised that the option to kill these is not there, when they recommended killing like Gordon and Castor all the way at the start. 21 to chapter 23, no new characters. It sounds weird, but the games like Fire Emblem are very front-loaded in characters, so you generally get a lot more at the start than at the end. Chapter 24, Ellis. Ellis is useful only if you lost a comrade a few chapters ago. Full stop, that's it. That's all they're going to tell you about Ellis. Like, nothing about Fortify or Warp or the fact that you can promote her right away or nothing. Just Ellis is useful only if you lost a comrade. Also, they don't mention why. It's because you have to get the Alm Staff from the chapter she joins in. If you don't get that, then Ellis apparently is completely useless. You can't see it, but I'm scratching my head at how little this one elaborates on its quote-unquote opinion. Like, Nagi. If you beat chapter 24, then Nagi will join your team. It's not true. You need to go to chapter 24X and beat it, and you only go to 24X if, and only if, you don't have the Falchion and you don't have Tiki. So you actually have to kill off Tiki if you recruited her to get Nagi. But they don't mention this. They have an opportunity to tell you to kill off a character, a recruitable character, and they don't do it. They didn't play the game. I'm convinced at this point they didn't play the game. Nagi is very powerful and comes in handy for the final battle. However, Nagi isn't good in multiplayer and you won't be able to get Goto, who is also a very good unit. Wow, apparently we were setting up for multiplayer all along. And we want to get Goto. Right. I thought this was about getting through the game. I guess they never said that. They did say like this would be focused on recruiting all the characters or seeing who's worth it. Let's just go to chapter 25. Technically it's final chapter, but since there's much bigger fish to fry in this game, I'm gonna let this one slide. Goto. If you didn't go to chapter 24, Goto will join you at the start of chapter 25. Goto is much better than Mekkah and Linde, but comes late, so your current mage might still be stronger depending on how you leveled them. Still, a great addition to any team and very helpful for the final battle. You know, this is not the worst entry. That's all the positive things I can say about it. Like, again, you can talk about like this guy literally steals the XP because I'm pretty sure he joins at level 20, so he doesn't gain any XP whatsoever. You could use both Mekkah and Linde and Goto. You can use a full mage squad if you want, although that probably isn't too easy to do with the reclass limit. I don't know, man. They didn't go like Goto is the only unit. Excuse me. Goto is the only way you can use Swarm too, because he joins with it. That's the only character. I guess you could trade it around, but you need Goto in order to get Swarm. His magic is very high. He's very, very strong. I don't really know a whole lot other than about Goto, but neither do they, so I think I still win. Anyway, this guide is obviously really fucking terrible. This is, I think, by far the worst guide that I have ever seen on any Fire Emblem thing. Like, I don't know who wrote this. I don't think there's an author on it. Let me check. I don't see it. There are comments on them, so I'm gonna check those. Okay, one of them is by a San Francisco 49er girl. She says, nice, that's very nice of her. Yeah. I agree with San Francisco 49er girl. Nice. Few issues. Norn is a great sniper. Max speed and high stats for everything else. Draug is the best armored unit you'll find. Horace is good at first, but his stats increases are terrible. The White Wing Scissors aren't that shabby. Should be recruited for the triangle attack. Est is better than Sita. Alright. Good job. You've almost managed to write something worse than this guy. I also want to say something weird here. These were posted 6 years ago and 9 years ago. But... This thing was posted in 2014. We're currently in 2019. Okay. KidzWorld are time travelers. Man, this explains everything. They must be from like an alternate dimension where all this is true. That's the only explanation I have. They're from an alternate dimension. I did not check this beforehand, by the way. This is not scripted. I didn't know they were time travelers. Alright, well, if any of you are time travelers, let me know in the comments if anyone is ever going to write a worse guide than this, and let me know. If there's any other guides you would like me to review, then let me know those as well. I'll link them to me, photographed and whatever. I think I've done all the official ones by now, the ones that are worth reviewing. But if you find a funny one online, then let me know, and I'll take a look. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and all that good stuff. That helps me out a lot. The background that you see behind this thing that I'm hopefully not going to forget to edit in is made by Rin, my designer. And it's pretty cool, if I may say so myself. That's all I got to say. I'll see you guys next time. Peace and goodbye.